Hello there, and then welcome to a brand new video. Now in this video we are still on BECE 2025, and this is actually the last question of the section B, or the written aspect. This has to do with graph. So I'm reading the question out. It says Adamu was traveling a distance of 40 kilometers from Kudungu to Dantua. That is 60 minutes after starting the journey. He made a stop at Kutown, which is 10 kilometers from Kundungu, to rest for 10 minutes. He then continued his journey from Kutown and reached Dantua 60 minutes later. So we have to use a scale of 1 centimeter to 20. Sorry, we have to use a scale of what? 2 centimeter rather. There was a typo. So using a scale of 2 centimeter to 20 minutes on the horizontal axis and 2 centimeters to 5 kilometers on the vertical axis, you have to draw a distance time graph for Adamu's journey. So we wouldn't be doing it here. Since it is a graph, I would have to switch to another page so that we can see it clearly. All right. So this is what I have over here as my, what do you call it? My graph. And as you can see on the vertical, I have my scale over here. That is for every 2 centimeter, I'm using what? 5 kilometers, just as we're told to do in the question. And then on my horizontal over here, for every 2 centimeters, I'm using what? 20 minutes. You see? So with that said, let's look at how we can represent the information on this graph. So the first one says the distance from these two towns, the distance separating these two towns is actually 40 kilometers, you see. But then for 60 minutes after starting the journey, he made a stop at Cook Town. And Cook Town is 10 kilometers from Kudungu. You get it? That is 60 minutes, 10 kilometers. 60 minutes, 10 kilometers. So we come over here, and it is actually a straight line we would have to draw. All right. So let me pick out a straight line. And then we said 60 minutes. So we come to the time axis. This is where we have our 60 minutes, right? So I'm definitely going to start from here. That is, we would have to start from 0, 0, because it is going to start at time 0. The initial point is 0, 0. And then we want 60 minutes. And on 60 minutes, you have to move up by what? 10 kilometers. You see? So this is the 10 kilometers. You get it? This becomes the point that we need. So I put that over there. Now with this done, let's go to the question and then see what happens after that point. So it says he rests for 30 minutes. He rests for what? 30 minutes. Now during period of rest, we do not increase the horizontal. We do not increase the vertical. You see, he rests for 30 minutes. And we said for every 2 centimeter, it is what? 20 minutes. So if you are resting for 30 minutes, then it is going to be, this is a 20 minutes, and then this here would be 30 minutes. Still here, that is 10 kilometers away from your starting point. You see? Then let's look at what the question continues to say. It says that he then continues his journey from Cool Town and reached Dantua 60 minutes later. 60 minutes later. And remember, we are told that Dantua is what? 40 kilometers away from Kundu. So far, he has moved forward 10 kilometers. This is a 10 kilometers. So it means we need to get here. You see, but he's here now, right? And he wants to get here. And in as much as he wants to get there, we are being told that what he reached there 60 minutes later. We know 2 centimeters is to what? 20 minutes. So this is 20 from this point. I'm taking it right from this point. Okay. So this is my 20 from here. So 20, 40, and then 60. You get it? So this will represent our graph. And as we can see, the first town is over here. That is the initial starting point. And now we are at this destination. After this time, you see, So for the first 60 minutes, we are told that he moved 10 kilometers to Kutown, you see, and then he rested for 30 minutes. So as you can see, this is the 30 over here. Then for the next 60 minutes, he moved towards his final destination. So looking at our questions that follow, it says use the graph to determine I, the time in minutes taken by Adamu to make the whole travel, including the rest, the total time. Now, if we come to our graph here, you take note that what we the final destination here, you see. So if I'm to trace that out, you can see our final destination here. That is in terms of the distance. That is where we have it, right? So this is our final destination. And this corresponding side would be the time it took for us to reach our final destination. So if in that case you want the time that was taken, you look at the corresponding time to the final destination, which is this over here. This, you get it? And as I have explained, it corresponds to this point over here. Now, with respect to this point, what would be its coordinate? We were told that every 2 centimeter represents what? 20 minutes. If every 2 centimeter represents 20 minutes, then from here to here being 20, we have 10 over here, you see. So if from here to here, we have 140 and then 160 here, then in between we would have 100 and what? 50. 150. So we'll then write and say that therefore the total time taken by Adamu, including the rest time, is 150. As simple as that, you see. Okay, now let's look at the next question. The next question says we should find the distance from Kutown to Datanu. The distance from Kutown to Datanu. How do we go about that? Now, if you look at the graph over here, you see I've added more lines to it just to give us clarity of what we want. This was where he got to Kutown. So this was where he had to rest for this particular number of minutes. And then he just went straight away to Datanu. Now, Kutown is 10 away from what? The starting point. And then Datanu is 40 away from that. So if you want the distance, then this is it over here, as I've illustrated with these dotted lines. So we'll take out 10 from the 40, and that will give us the distance between Kutown. So for you to get it well, let me write C here to represent Kutown, you see. And then I'm going to let D over here be Datanu, and then K where he started from. You see that? So he wants the distance between these two. And as I've said, that is 40 minus 10. So distance from Kutown to Datanu is then going to be what? The 40 kilometers minus your 10 kilometers. And that gives you what? 30 kilometers. Okay. Now the last part of B, which is BII, it says, what is the average speed of Adamu from Kutown to Datanu? Now, if you want average speed, then we want the distance over the time. Average speed is distance over time. So let's write that here. Average speed. Now, talking of the distance, that is what we've solved over here. Kutown to Datanu. You see, and that is going to be what? 30 kilometers over. Then we are left with the time. So for the time, we come back over here. You see. So let's look at what we have over here. This is the time taken that I've represented with this dotted lines over here. And we know this point to be 150. We know this other here to be what? 90. So if we want the time it took within this span, it's going to be 150 minus 90. 150 minus 90. You see. So I'll come here and I say 150 minus 90. And take note, they are all in minutes, right? So all of this is in minutes. But would we like to represent our answer in minutes? No, because we are talking of kilometer here. So we should use hours rather. So 150 minus 90 gives us 60, you see. And 60 minutes we know is actually what? 1 hour. 60 minutes we know will be what? 1 hour. So 30 kilometers over 1 hour will then give us what? 30 kilometers per hour. And that is his average speed of Adamu from what? School town to the town. Now the last part of the question, that is question C. If he did not rest but then traveled to the town within the time, what is his average speed? If there is no rest but then he traveled within the time, what is his average speed? Now what do we mean by if he did not rest? So what it actually means is we are no more going to include this particular section. This one was what represented the rest, you see. And what, how many minutes did this represent? It represented what? 30 minutes. You see that? So he rested for 30 minutes. So for the total time he took, we want to take out that 30 minutes. Then we now use the time that will remain to solve for his average what? Speed. Let's look at how we can go about that. So average speed if no rest. Now we know the total time taken, including rest. Total time, including rest, is what? Let's look at that here. So total time, including rest, was 150. So that is 150. Now, rest alone. The rest alone is 30 minutes. That is the number of minutes he rested. So then, the time excluding rest will then be 150 minus 30, right? Minus the time he used to rest. And that is going to give us a 120 minutes, right? So then our average speed, which you know it to be distance over time. What is the distance? The distance still remains 40 because from its initial position, that is the first town to Kadungu was what? 40. So that is 40 kilometers all over 120 minutes. Well, for 120 minutes, you know that is 2 hours. So you write that as 2 hours, right? Evaluating this, we are going to get 20 kilometers per hour. That is 2 into it of once, then into 40. How many times? 20 times. Hence, we have 20 kilometers per hour. As simple as that. So as usual, I'll leave you with some questions for you to try just to test your understanding. So at this point, you can pause the video just to look at these questions and then try them out, right? This is how beyond numbers where we learn maths the easy way. Coming to the end of the written part of the 2025 BECE questions, we'll now look at the objectives. I'll see you there. If this is your first time on this channel, you can always choose to subscribe if you so do wish, so that anytime I release a video, you'll be notified as well. Stay blessed and then bye.